So ignore me whilst I'm boxing the door here in order. I want to talk about a topic sort of tangentially and not scripted or anything. Sort of came about last night when I was going through some really bad mental health issues and I was doing the Reef of Snakes on route. And it kind of broke me. It took about 5 attempts, which apparently is really good for prog. But the thing that's especially defeating about it is one player can wipe an entire group essentially. And this can cause a lot of issues, and this is why people end up making it restricted to duty completion. And yeah, that naturally causes issues, and it'll cause people to turn on each other, which is why. What the fuck is with the depth field? Okay, I've seen that before. It's like someone put Vaseline all over the camera to make it go faster. Change, please. It's ugly. But yeah, it's like why people turn on each other and there's like toxicity. Hang on. I think it enabled depth of fields on purpose. And I have it disabled. Oh. But yeah, it's not on. Okay. But it's a massive problem. Sorry, I just had a crisis moment. So I'm gonna get a bit breathless. So, people are definitely toxic to each other the more the game is designed that way. The more it's sort of unbalanced. I've seen this in countless competitive games like League of Legends, Heroes of the Storm, Overwatch, and I think even like Counter-Strike to an extent. That comes along because of people wanting to essentially be ahead of everyone else. And I noticed this typically when I was a bit younger. And when I was a kid I didn't really care, although I was comparing myself to others. Embarrassingly. I used to make comments on like the Oscars Minecraft vid saying like, oh you're bad. I'm better. It's like really cocky shit. And nowadays I'm like, who fucking cares? Let people enjoy the game. Yeah, but as a young adult, I'm sort of a bit more agitated about it. And I think this is probably because certain people I think I did as well. Still am going through like probably a second puberty or something like that. But what I didn't really know is that there could be mental health issues besides this, and another tangent sort of to bring this up, like why did I do Reef of Snakes Unreal? It's because of faux hollows. It'll take about 6 to 7 weeks I think to get the mount. Or one mount, for that matter. I'll probably get the Magic Children's Bed first, and then the Kamui. Kamei? I don't know how you say it. But it's a weird one in that sense. Because over the years I've struggled with games, and one of the earliest memories I had of mental health impacting games, and my gameplay for that matter, other than sort of being a victim of bullying, and being incredibly like dumb and sort of sheltered in that sense, in a shell. What does it account for? Yeah. And ADHD, as you can tell just there. But I definitely struggled, and it impacted my gameplay to an extent. You know, it wasn't about completing the game, it was more like about messing around. Like, I played GTS San Andreas when I was a child. I used to use cheats, and I even found a way to get into the cities without a notoriety level, which is basically enabling co-op and going in that way. One of the weird strategies I had. And that was fun to an extent, and also played like Burnout Paradise. But I always sort of avoided games where the gameplay was difficult. You know, very few Sonic games I can get along with. In that case, like Sonic Heroes. Got massive anxiety about some of the places in that. Like I remember the power plant level with Sonic Team and Dark Team. Like that shit at the end was like, oh my fucking god. That was easy. Like one of the biggest sort of points of anxiety in gaming. And boss fights after that as well were sort of a struggle. Um, and it's a weird one because I used to go to school and feel sick, and people didn't really understand why, and doctors thought I maybe had like a problem with my stomach or bowels or something. And for some reason, even though anxiety was known back then, I wasn't even tested for it, which is even leading me to like head scratching now. Like, how do you miss that sort of thing? You know, they did ask like, am I nervous about going to school? And I said like, kind of. That didn't trigger any red flags, so it's like, okay. So I don't know. And then skip to like 2023. I get my diagnosis, and I actually have OCD and panic disorder and social anxiety disorder, as well as autism. I got a subtype called PDD, pathological diversion, something. And there's also depression, but I think that can be disregarded now because I think burnout is a bigger impact to me. Um, but yeah, this sort of ties into gaming because even later on, I seem to stick to games that like specifically have like a grind or a lot of gameplay to it. You know, I played Team Fortress 2 for years. Played Gary's mod for years because I had so much creativity in Minecraft as well. I moved on to things like Overwatch and Heroes of the Storm and eventually World of Warcraft and then Genshin Impact and I've got Star Realm. I've also played games like in between as well. And it's been an interesting journey, but it's sort of made me realise that some of my anxieties are not found, but on the other hand, some of them are. You know, I played Portal RTX, and when I used to be able to figure that out when I was young, I'm not able to do that now, and it's just made me even more anxious about trying puzzle games. Um, Whereas I loved Portal 2, and I think I did get along with that. I even tried the Portal stories, and I just couldn't get along with it. I felt like the puzzles were too difficult, and I don't know what exactly is impacting that. Um, and there's some other games, Armored Core, yes, I played that, Armored Core 6, and I didn't like it because it was a Souls-like, and nobody told me. You know, people say that, oh, it's made by FromSoft, and apparently this isn't like a Souls-like, but it literally was a Souls-like. So I just gave up after that one boss that everyone seemed to get stuck on for hours. No surprise, and there wasn't making any progress either. Just seemed to be complete luck. So once again, anxiety sort of confirmed, and that's been a struggle. I definitely can't handle games that are difficult, and that's something I've come to accept over the years, and more so, it just seems to be true. But part of the discussion here wasn't necessarily to do with Final Fantasy XIV's difficulty, because there are definitely some good difficulty moments. I won't deny that. There's definitely fun parts of it. You know, like Voidcast Dice Extreme. That was quite fun. I reckon I could do that synced now. There's also Storm's Crown. That was pretty good. It's like quite mechanically involved, but even then, the mechanics aren't so stupidly difficult that it ruins the game. There's still like comebacks in those examples anyway, except Voidcast Dice, which involves having a bomb go off and then you have to rush to your teammate, which is a very hard thing to pull off, especially if you're a caster. You have to go soak the tower. Um, but it's an odd situation, definitely, because some difficult things I can enjoy, but others I can't. And I don't really have the same sort of effect that other people have when they overcome a difficult thing. For some people, it's like, oh my god, I did it, I'm good at this, or something. For me, it's like, I overcame it, and That's that. And I remember during like the Blue Mage stuff I was doing with Mars Carnival, like Blue Mage is absolute agony. I don't know how you can label it a broken class when very clearly isn't. Like it's not anywhere near broken enough to be a concern even for like Party Finder. Like it just doesn't mean a thing. If you play like Mask Carnival and do even some of the high end content with Blue Mage, you just end up finding that it's difficult to do. You know, even tanking as Blue Mage, which needs a buff by the way, you find that you cannot do enough because the defensives are crappy. They're not instant, which they should be. Like Shenanigan Gate, obvious one, should be instant, as it is in the fucking boss fight, I think. There's definitely others as well. I think Diamondback as well. Again, should be instant. But I just didn't enjoy Blue Mage, and it's a similar situation here in the Unreal trial. So it brings up the topic of mental health and how it impacts games. And whilst I haven't done research on this, I think it's something that needs to be researched. Because it's not always like mental health, it's not always simple like that. It's sometimes something far deeper. You know, people could be having problems in their personal life, and there's also tech issues, which we had in that Unreal experience for some reason. It's a bit odd that sort of thing happens. And you know, if I suddenly get a call someday like, oh, someone you know closely has died, then what the fuck am I supposed to do? I can't keep playing, but I don't want to sort of lose a distraction. It's like really difficult, and it becomes like a spaghetti moment because you literally can't find where you left off. You can't untangle it. You can't even fork it. I'm not sure how that works. But literally, that is the struggle. And mental health only adds a more significant burden. I don't doubt that ADHD plays a role in there. Someone on the Reddit sort of pointed out as well. People don't like when you bring up mental health in gaming. But this is literally the thing. If you want games to be accessible, not to mention have better players, you need to be accepting that players are at the whims of this, really. Mental health, disability, anything. So you can't be going around saying mentally ill people shouldn't be playing games or disabled people shouldn't be playing them. I saw this attitude a few years ago with various topics around game difficulty and accessibility, and a bunch of like complete bigots say, oh, there's actually no other words to describe them. Maybe assholes, I don't know. But they attack disabled people just because they're changing the way games are. But that's like really close-minded, and not to mention being disabled and having mental health issues is already a minority within a minority. The gap gets so much smaller, and naturally you just feel closed in if you are part of that minority. You know, I guarantee you that most gamers in general will probably have some form of issues, like depression or anxiety or something. Not necessarily like the big ones like autism or maybe schizophrenia, which people definitely do have. Those impact gameplay, and you're already in a powerful minority from that alone. So why push people even further out when it's going to push you out as well? Sort of similar to politics in a sense. People don't use critical thinking, they don't sort of take into account the different situations and scenarios. And that's why places like the US are in such hot shit. And even like, I think war zones to an extent. People can talk things out, so like, you know, with wars, it's like, okay, that's fucking stupid. Great. What embarrassment to humanity. And not to mention the tragedy that comes along with it. And yeah, sort of went hard unintentionally, sure. People definitely do face tragedy just as a result of being themselves or being misunderstood. Again, that's what happens in wars, that's what happens in politics. So you end up making one shittier just for wanting to do things like your own way. Sometimes you can't always do that. There's definitely been cases where, in this game anyway, you have players with very obvious, and I think, I wouldn't say like disabilities, but like inexperience and some mental health, I think, can impact it. You know, if there's like an important mechanic and it's on the ADHD moment, you look at the squirrel, suddenly you're dead and you have to get revived and you need to take a loss. So this game is sort of inaccessible in that sense. No doubt there are people who can play it with these issues. Yeah, I know I'm capable of it, but it does impact it, and that's my biggest concern here. And it sort of leads me to wanting to know if there's any sort of solutions or treatments or something, like some sort of research as well. This is something pretty important. It does impact everyone's lives, and the moment you again exclude a minority like disabled people, mental health, I don't know, you end up losing a portion of the player base and a good portion of that. There are players who probably wouldn't be toxic and probably wouldn't be missing out mechanics as much. And one of the things I've noticed anyway, in like anyone mental health related or disabled, they work harder. I know I try to myself. I do a lot of things I work hard for. I make music and artwork outside of the game. And I play the game like I've known it for decades. If that's even a term or phrase. I don't know where my voice is going. But this is literally reality. So I think people need to be careful about what they say and what they do. In the end, this can have serious negative consequences. And it can also be a loss as well, quite literally. And people might not be able to wrap their head around why someone who's disabled can be better at a game than them. I can definitely tell you that people are like forced into that situation anyway. To play a game most of their life, all of it. And again, it's because of various discrimination, like politics. There's plenty of different reasons and different situations. Which is why I stress the importance of empathy. You know, I might see a toxic player, even like someone who's just bad at the game. And my first thought used to be like, oh, get this player out of it if I can ruin my experience, but ever since opening my eyes to mental health and disability, it's been more like, I wonder what this player's going through to cause them to be like this. It feels very important to understand that. And you can't know for certain, but you can't assume either. It's better to sort of border on being open-minded and empathetic, or just keep your mouth shut. It's simple. That's, I think, where a lot of people fail as well. Especially people who are extroverted, and I definitely don't talk as much as I should in this game. That's because of anxiety and just in general, just being quieter than usual. And people might ask, why do I play a social game like this? But one, to help anxiety, and two, it's because it's a decent game underneath all the toxic garbage that it has, toxic baggage for that matter, and booty. And what the hell's it keeps zooming in on that? Yeah, I think I've said all I can. Remember to be empathetic towards people, sympathise obviously in the bad situations. I've definitely met people over the years, I think. I think I even encountered one here actually. Like someone using a VPN, I think, from Ukraine or something, and I think they heard like a bomb siren go off, which is fucking scary. And again, that's one of these situations where don't let this thing impact your personal experience. It's more important that someone gets the fuck out of there to avoid what is an obvious warning than to keep playing the game just because you want them to. It's completely fucking selfish and closed-minded to say to someone in that situation, like, oh, you have to keep playing. Uh, Unless they're on a Steam Deck and connected to mobile data or Starlink or something. And I don't know, but they have to concentrate on saving their own lives first. And people need to come to accept that, really. And I think the more that we disconnect ourselves from, obviously, who's behind these characters here that we're looking at right now, the more likely you're gonna be against them and be closed-minded. I don't know what this cat girl was going through, for example, this bunny woman. For all I know, it could be disabled, it could be trans, it could be anyone. But it's very, there's so many different scenarios, it's like almost as incomprehensible as the the universe. You just can't comprehend how much there is out there, how sort of expansive it is. Yeah, so I think I've said all I can say. Thanks for listening. Hopefully this is informative. I think it's important to bring about this discussion. I do feel it's important and close to my heart as well, because I struggle with mental health and I've done my best to understand it. It's just ever so important to be kind and caring to everyone. That's to not discriminate. So yeah, thanks for listening. Let's see everyone another time.